Hi, today's presentation is by Pat Miller, who is the Coordinator and Work Readiness Specialist at the St. Croix Valley Job Center. There's just a reminder that there will be a drive-through job fair tomorrow, Wednesday, November 11th, from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. and 1 to 2 p.m. in the library parking lot, which is presented by the St. Croix Pierce County Workforce Resource in partnership with the River Falls Public Library, Pierce County Child Support, and St. Croix County Child Support. Volunteers will be handing out bags with listings of jobs available right now in the local area. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation, and the presentation will be available to watch on the library's Facebook page and YouTube channel and the St. Croix Valley Job Center's webpage. All right, Pat, take it from here.
Hi, welcome everybody. So I'm happy to be presenting today. I do work at the St. Croix Valley Job Center in River Falls. We service the Pierce and St. Croix counties areas. And I actually work for Workforce Resource, which is a nonprofit that operates the job centers in the west central Wisconsin area. So the job centers are a great resource to go to. They also have, such as our job center, extra programs that may have special funding or ways that can help you with training costs or job search costs, or at the very least, some information and help and resources with, what to do next. So today I've been asked to talk about tools and tips for job searching. So it's a little bit like getting the job you want versus getting the job you get. Now, in this, we have a good job market. Right now it's a little fuzzy with COVID, but in general, there's a good labor market, at least for entry level, that anybody who wants a job can pretty much get a job as long as you know how to show up on time and be friendly. I think right now, though, if what we're covering today with the tools and tips, hopefully is going to give you an advantage for that. You can have more over control over getting the job that you want. That means understanding what the job market is, understanding what employers want, and how to get them the information they need and to highlight yourself so that you get hired. That gives you a little more choice and direction in getting the work that you'd like to do. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So if you can go to the next slide then, Kim. Job searching is a skill. Just like tying your shoes, learning to dance or anything, it takes practice. It's like anything we have to do. It's a different kind of skill oftentimes for people who haven't had a job search, if at all, or for quite a long time. And it's something that learning some different steps will help you proceed and make it a little easier, we hope. So the first thing is you need to prepare. Since we're going in as deer hunting season, I'm going to kind of use that as an analogy. If you're the first time deer hunter, first you'd have to study up a little bit on what do I need to go deer hunting? Do I need, the special clothes, probably some warm boots, maybe a little extra warm jacket these days if it's going to snow. I need the tools. Am I using bow and arrow? Am I using a gun? And how do I use that? And then what's the best way to reach my goal of actually finding a deer? Or maybe it's taking pictures of deer. In my world, I'm not really a hunter. So I would have a lot to learn. I'd be a beginner in that. So in anything, even if you kind of know the gist that you need stuff, it's always good to have someone take a look if you're just entering the job search market, because things change, and especially now with technology, social media, things like that, it's really important to kind of know what's the best way to highlight yourself and how are employers finding jobs or people to do the jobs. So the first thing I usually talk to when somebody says, I need a job, one of the first things I ask is, do you have a resume? A resume is your list, it's your commercial for what things you know how to do and what jobs you've had most recently. And it has to be current, to the point, perfect. You want the spelling and everything to reflect that you've taken a lot of care and time in this. And also should highlight what skills you know for the job that you're going after. Okay, we're going to go into that in a little more detail. It should be customized for you and tell the best things about you that are not always found out or asked for in an application. The other thing is, before you run out and start making applications, research the job market a little bit, especially if you're a professional or in a new career. If you've never job searched before, kind of get used to how the world talks when they're job searching, whether you're entry level or first time searching or professional. I often refer people to go to the internet, look at job postings, look in the newspaper. What are the words that they're using to say, what skills that they want? What do they call the jobs? In most places, when they offer a job posting, they're going to say what skills they want, what they need, what the job requires, and which of those skills do you have. And pay attention to the words that they're using, because you're going to need those words when you communicate with them. You don't want to sound like you've never done this before, even if you haven't ever done it before. You want to sound like you've spent some time and done your homework. So, research that job market, look at job postings, read, absorb, be a sponge, find out the language. What is it do they want? Do they usually need education, a certain kind? Do they want Microsoft Suite? Do they need an associate's degree? And sometimes in this market, they'll often tell you if they have a good wage, they may advertise that. And so you should know, am I accepting a job that at $12 an hour when somewhere else they're paying $15? So be informed so that you know how to organize your information as well. Know what you're good at. Most of the time when people come in to me, and I've had this happen with myself when I first started to do a career change and look for a different kind of job some years ago. People often underestimate themselves. We tend to not value what we're already good at. And so when you're looking for a job, it really helps to know what you're good at. And often people say, oh, I've only been a parent. I've never worked out of the home. Well, there's a lot of skill involved in being a parent. It takes patience. You probably have to know how to multitask. You probably have to know how to cook and answer the phone and make the dog get out of the way or whatever, or keep the kid from falling down the stairs in order to get your job done. So that flexibility, the fact that you've been there and you have responsibility, is important to any employer. It's knowing how to turn that in to what your skills are that the employer is looking for. So it means learning how to talk in a different way. Know what you're qualified for. Know what the job needs. What are those things that you can do? And then if you're entry level or professional, if you're entry level, employers are pretty forgiving. We have a lot more jobs right now at entry level, food service, retail, and I'm going to put kind of COVID aside a little bit because normally in a good society, those are very good entry level and good jobs and ways to get started, and everybody needs them. You need somebody to work there. So if you're entry level, whether it's in manufacturing or light assembly or in food service or in retail, Target's still hiring with Christmas season's coming, then they're less worried about, did you use your resume perfect? How did you answer all the questions and interview really well? They want to know, do you show up? Are you willing to work? They're going to look more at your character. Are you polite? Are you seem friendly? Those kinds of things. And that's what they'll also find out through the interview. However, if you have a resume and you've practiced some of these things, it's going to put you above a little bit higher as well, because they're like, wow, you know how to do a resume. You communicate well. You're less nervous because you understand the whole process of job searching. So it's also going to help you because you're going to get a little bit more to a different level. So as professionals, resumes, how you interview becomes much more important. How you dress, how your mannerisms of vocabulary you use, then it gets a lot more fussy, and especially higher up the salary level or higher up the academic or management levels that you go. So, or technical levels. Resources, if you want more help, the job centers here. Currently, job centers are closed to the public, but we as staff are still working here. So we are available. A lot of our work is being done remotely. The library has been a great resource for, especially once they're open. But again, they've collaborated with us to get this information out to you. So they're a fantastic resource. Any community, the library is always the place to start. School, if you're involved in high school, or if you've had attended a technical college or a university, reach back to that career counseling center. Some are better than others, but a lot of them are very underused. They can give you some good tips. Another thing is staffing agencies, especially for entry level. for people who are not very good at doing resumes, applications, communicating, but they're good at working, staffing agencies can be a good thing. They're temporary jobs, but they also hire for direct hire jobs. They can also be a good networking thing, and it can save a lot of hassle when you're not good to using those tools. They can interview you, they can bring you on, and if you're able to help them out, they will kind of match you with one of the companies that they are working with, and that will help you get that job. It's always a good networking piece. Most of the staffing agencies in the area here are mostly filling light assembly or factory jobs. Those are still good jobs. They can, they're steady pay and steady hours in general. So it just depends on what you're able to do. But it's also for professionals, whether you're an office or administrative, maybe you're a higher technology person, a computer, or dealing with advanced manufacturing, automated packaging or robotics, something like that. There are some of the staffing agencies who have a professional line to them. So they may have a section that's hiring for office places. Express here in town does. I believe Seek and Hudson is another one. And I'm really hoping I'm not leaving anybody out. Aerotech sometimes deals with more technical and advanced manufacturing occupations. So there's also Robert Half organizations. Those tend to be more professional management, office, accounting. So there are different kinds of staffing agencies. So search them out, because if nothing else, they hire a lot of people and they can be good networking. And you can ask them, who do you service? What kind of jobs can you help me find? And a good staffing agency will work with you on that. Next slide then. Okay, so typically what people do, especially as you're researching the market or you're looking for the job, you're going to maybe be going to the job search websites. One common one we often do here is jobcenterofwisconsin.com. That is the Wisconsin State's website for all things workforce. Has tons of information, whether it's for vocational rehabilitation, training and education programs, veterans, unemployment. That's usually where most people connect with Job Center Wisconsin, but lots of also information where you can set up an account using a username and password because it's secure. And then you can search for jobs. There are online workshops that tell you lots about the things that I'm talking about today and more. And whether it's the economy or anything, there's so many jobs that you can look for there, as well as do your own resume or formatted resume there, put your profile so that employers can look for people who match their skills. And it can be another way that employers can connect with a job seeker the same way that job seekers sometimes connect with employers. So jobcenterwisconsin.com is a really good, safe, and state website. Another one, because we are on the border of the metropolitan of Minnesota, is minnesotaworks.net. Similar thing, it's just the Minnesota counterpart to that. So a very common website to use is indeed.com. Very easy to use. That Indeed pulls many websites or job postings from many different websites. And you can also establish your own profile on there. I usually tell people when they're beginning their job search, hold off on doing your profile because you want to kind of explore the world a little bit more and know what kind of information you want to make public. Sometimes by posting a profile, it means that employers can send you, or that you can get signals of different jobs that are looking for people like you with your skills. But sometimes it can be overwhelming on your emails, or as you're trying to figure out how to control and organize your job search. So another is jobshq.com. That can make it more local. Sometimes they'll also include more part-time jobs, local jobs, maybe more service, and sometimes it just kind of varies from time to time. And there are lots of other ones. We do have a list here at the Job Center that we often hand out. Excuse me, my phone. And so, but those are some main ones I usually start people with. Once you get comfortable, then you can explore others. be careful. You want to protect your private information always. So, and that's kind of a whole nother conversation. So most people look to what are the jobs that are advertised. But here's something a lot of people don't know, is that in the hidden job market, meaning that there's about 3/4 of the jobs are not advertised. There are job openings out there that are not going to show up in the paper, are not going to show up on the website, are not going to show up unless you happen to wander in or somebody happens to connect to you. Often as I'm talking with a person about something, and I found out they have certain skills, I'm like, you should apply to our organization because we could use some of those skills. But we probably haven't advertised it because it's sort of if we find the right person, we'll bring them in. So that can be a really important tool, and especially for professionals, some of those higher paid jobs, especially these days when the economy is like, I don't know, or maybe I think so, they will put you to work if you're the right person for the job, or maybe they'll try you with a short-term project and say, perfect, let's bring you on. But otherwise, they're not really sure they're ready to jump based on economy or the year or the timing, just based on what that's going on. So networking, who do you know and who can you meet? Especially for a professional, is if you know of a company that you would like to work for, don't just wait for an advertised posting. Go to that company's website. You can Google ABC company in River Falls and find out more about their website, who they are, what are they hiring, what's their mission, what's important to them. Find out a reception desk and call and say, excuse me, are you hiring? I'd like to drop off my resume in case you are looking for somebody down the road. Spread that around. Now, it takes more time. Some of the good things do sometimes. But sometimes it's amazing what you just happen to find out when you're in the right spot at the right time. I recently took a vacation on a train, and a trip on a train, I should say. And one of the people who was taking care of us on the train said, I was talking to her. She used to drive a bus in Chicago. And then she got moved. She was driving a van that delivered food to trains, to Amtrak and the passenger services. And one day, one of the Amtrak people said, hey, have you ever thought about working here? They must have liked her character. She was on time. She was friendly. And she goes, okay. And she ended up in a really good job, one that she loves. You never know where that opportunity is going to come around. So keep your eyes and ears open. Research. What kind of work do you like to do? Where would you want to work? Is it in a small company, a big corporate? Is it doing nonprofit work, or is it helping the environment, or is it working with kids or money? Whatever it is, to keep doing that research. And right in front of you, look around. Everybody says, I need help finding a job. Well, if you've been to Target, if you've been to Fleet Farm, if you've been Menards, there's signs all over. We need to hire. Maybe it's at certain times of the year. Maybe it's a farm organization like Countryside that does fertilizer or helping to, with a harvest or delivering seed. They have seasonal stuff where they're busier all of a sudden. Don't be afraid to look around, and the sign might be right there. Hey, we're looking for somebody. Staffing agencies, I've mentioned those, are often temporary short-term, but they also do permanent hiring in some cases too these days. And it's a good place to work quickly and get paid sooner, meaning it doesn't have that long onboarding or hiring process. Many companies use them, and many good companies that need people quickly are using staffing agencies. So it depends on the agency and who their clientele are. But don't ignore them. They're a good source of information. Newspapers, Facebook, LinkedIn, which is kind of the professional Facebook in some people's, social media. There's all kinds of sources where people are finding jobs, and that includes Facebook. And on to the next slide. So I'm going to try to move a little more quickly so that I can still have you time for questions at the end of this. So your resume is your main tool, and it's the right resume that's for you. It's customized to you. Design it for the job that you want or that you're applying to. Many people have used their resume as, this is who I am and what I've done in the past. And part of that needs to be on there. But right at the top of your resume, after your name and address and phone number, you want to have a summary or profile or list of qualifications who says in the top half of your resume, this is who I am and what I know how to do that you need, Mr. Employer or Ms. Employer, okay? Why are you the one that they should hire? Who are you? Usually you have an identity, I'm a production worker looking for with or production worker with experience in plastics and a great attendance record. And then what else do you know in there? Usually bullet points. What are they looking for? I've worked in plastics before. I know how to operate a forklift. I'm comfortable using computers, Microsoft Office. Be specific, Word, Excel, whatever you have, add it on there. If you're professional, this is where you're really going to sell them. What are some of the best things about you that they are looking for in their job posting that you have? Do you have sales experience and that's what they want? Do you have sales experience in agricultural background and that's what you have? Then you highlight that. And you don't have to have every qualification the employer wants. If you have 3 or 4 of the big ones and you think you can convince them that you have enough other experience, if not the training or something that says, I think I'm good enough to do this job, give it a shot. Those postings are kind of awesome. They always have sort of the kitchen sink thrown in just in case, they have everything in there. So if you can hit the main parts, go for the job, especially when it's one that you want. At the very least, you've had great practice and you've gotten more information about, oh, I missed that part. If I get that, maybe I'll be better next time and I can get this job. So very important to match the qualifications and the wording from the job posting, what the employer has written, and matching it using their terms, saying, I know how to do this in their terms. 2 ways. We are often going through electronic screening. Think about when you use Google. If I want pizza place in a new town, I'm going to Google Pizza Huts in Menominee, if I haven't been there before. If I get a flower shop that pops up, well, that's nice, but that's not what I'm interested in right now. So if an employer is interested in you to do a certain skill set, that's what you need to talk to them about. Not that you also did all these other things. If I'm looking for a housekeeper who vacuums, washes dishes, and waxes floors, I guess, tell me those 3 things that if you've done that, say, hey, I'm an experienced housekeeper who vacuums, washes dishes, and wax floors. Not only that, I'll do your windows, and I'm very friendly with pets or children. Great, I'm going to call you. And you have to do that in the placement as soon as possible. Think about when we read the newspaper. We're looking at headlines. We're scanning it quickly, looking for the information that looks interesting to us. Is it your favorite celebrity? Is it the Green Bay Packers football score from the last game? You're not going to pay attention to other things. You're going to go right to those subjects. And so that's the same thing that you're using in your resume. If you read your resume and just look at it for like 7 seconds, what words is someone going to pick out of there? And those 7 words or 5 words that they find should be something that's interesting them, because then they will read more. Same as when we start to read a newspaper or magazine article. If the paragraph looks kind of boring, we turn the page. Very much like that with the resume. And if they're electronically scanning for certain words, skills like wash dishes, vacuum cleaner, wax floors, in my housekeeper example, if you don't have those words, the computer will not pick you out. So it's very important to use those phrases. Be concise and to the point. You should have your accurate work history for the most recent 10 to 15 years, not your life history back for 30 years. Number 1, it will date you and tell them how old you are. And number 2, because that's not fair, because you may be very good at technology, but also they want to know what's the most relevant new work that you've done lately. Where have you been lately? Have you worked? Use headings and spacings to highlight those certain words. Make it easy to read and easy to scan. Concise, to the point. Like I said, what can you read in 7 seconds? Because most hiring managers have done this a lot, and they're looking really quickly. They can figure out, is this someone I'm interested in or not? If you can't put the communication and the words in the way they want to make their job easier, maybe they're not interested in you. They want someone who can do the work for them. Wouldn't you? If you wanted to hire somebody who makes your life easier? Absolutely. Okay. Sometimes as people try to figure out what they're good at, I think about what 3 things are you most proud of in your life? And this takes some time to think about. This is also good practice for interviewing. And just knowing yourself. Take the time. What 3 things are you most proud of in your life? What accomplishments? What achievements? It doesn't have to be earth-shaking. You know, the time that you helped somebody across the street and it really made a difference to them. The fact that you went into a friend's house and totally organized it and they were like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Those say something about yourself. And those are also skills, organization, kindness, compassion, for instance, in those examples, that an employer may be interested in. So those are called transferable skills. What you did over here might also work for a different employer or a different job. Remember, the resume gets you the interview. You don't have to tell them your life history. You don't have to sell everything about yourself at that resume. Just has to be enough to get their attention so they call you and talk an interview. Then you can get more into details. So your resume usually does not need to be more than 1 page. And a professional or someone with a lot of experience, maybe 2. But if you don't fit that top half about why they should call you, they weren't going to read the rest of it. Pretty much never. Okay, and next slide then. Applications, applying for the job. I don't know about you, but I hated doing online applications. I hated doing plain applications. But it's the part of the job you have to do. The employer needs that information to organize how he's going to look at hire 5 people, 10 people when he's got 300 working for them. Who knows? Or maybe it's a small place too. They still need that information and they want it in their form so they know where to find it. You can hate them, go ahead, hate it. But it's still something you're going to need to do. Maybe it's not that much fun, but if that's part of what you need to do to get the job, do it. And then do it well. Make it count for you. Some employers still do paper applications. Most do not. People in manufacturing or assembly or factory jobs, entry level, retail, food service, those types of things, they'll probably just do a paper one because they know that they're interested. They just need people to come in and they can work on the rest. But most applications are done online where you'll need a username and password for each account. You want to use the keywords, the skills that you have whenever you can. If they say, tell us what you did in the last 3 jobs. So at the last job I had, what did I do? Well, I organized lists. And I picked out different materials that was needed for that. I communicated with the team. So use short, like a shopping list phrase. Again, easy to read. Get the important words in there because they don't have time for. I have had a lot of experience in picking orders. You know, just say picked orders. They'll find it. The words, you'll have more time in the interview. Follow the employer directions for how to apply. This is important. Read those directions. In a tough economy or when there's more people than jobs, that's how they were deciding who they were going to call for a job or not. Did this person just spell things right and follow the directions? That's important. And it still applies now. They're a little less fussy, but because many of them are online, if you fill it out wrong, it may not get pushed through to the employer. A resume does not replace an application. If an employer has asked you to do the application, don't just send a resume. He's asked you to do the application. Do the application and include your resume if you can. But it's not one or the other. They are not interchangeable. They do different things. And usually you can include your resume with the application. An important thing also, if you're job searching, keep track and follow up. Keep track of where you applied and when. You can use a fancy Excel spreadsheet to putting in as many details as you want if you're skilled at that, or use a notebook paper. You know, write down what company you went to and when, and then more information, because you will not remember in 2 months. You won't remember in 1 month if you're really looking for jobs more than 1 a week. And even then, if you have my memory, sometimes you'll still forget. So it's also you want to follow up. Don't just send an application and then wait. You have to be proactive. Things go wrong, or employers forget things. They lose things. It's busy and they're tough. They always, like many people, they're doing the jobs of two people instead of one person, if not more. So you're going to apply, and a week later, or let me phrase that, you're going to apply, and maybe the next day, maybe 2 days later, you're going to call them and say, excuse me, I did an application and I just want to know if you received it all right, or if you need more information. All right. Always courteous, always polite. What can you do for them? Should they be hiring us if they need us and not, not questioning things? Maybe, but that's not the way of the world. They're also fussy about who works for them. Wouldn't you be if you have somebody in your house cleaning or taking care of your pets or your children or whatever? You'd be a little fussy too. You are when you hire someone to fix your car, fix your house, whatever it is. Same thing, just a different turnaround. Next thing then. Interviewing. Oh, I could talk about interviewing forever. I used to hate interviewing. Oh, what a scam. It's a smoosh job, It's my son said, oh, you just have to say what they want to hear. Well, kind of. Yes, they're looking for information. The interview is how they do that. They want to know, can you do the job or not? I used to hate interviewing because I didn't really know how to use it. I used to be terrified. Oh, I'd sweat beads. Oh, it was miserable. But with a little practice and knowing what they want, it became a lot easier. And then it became my tool. Now I can make more. I can take control in that. There's different types of interviews. Often you do an application. Let's say you've called and followed up. Sometimes when you call, they'll also tell you, well, we won't be interviewing for 2 weeks. Or no, we just kind of collecting. We'll call you in 2 months. Or, yep, we're going to be calling you. Can you come in tomorrow? Great. Usually the first step is a phone screen where that's a receptionist or an administrative person who's kind of going through a script. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? To see, are you close within the range of the requirements? Are they going to bring you in or talk to you and take more time on that? The next step these days is often going to be a video interviewing. And so you want to be aware of how you're appearing to them. Is your connection good? Because you don't want it losing. Sometimes we help people at the job center. You go to a friend who's got good internet. I've helped people practice their video. We kind of video together on the system that the employer is using. So we're kind of figuring out some of the bugs in that system. Check your camera placement. I mean, you don't want to be talking like this. You don't want to looking at the sky. So it's important to that, as well as what's behind you. I have kind of a dull background, but sometimes if you have a poster that maybe somebody disagrees with, or we we had a coworker who we were doing remote meetings, and she had the poster of a very handsome person in the background, and so we all loved our meetings with her because we were looking at the poster in the background. Okay, so you just want to be aware of what they're seeing. And I know as you're watching different celebrities, as everybody's on video these days, it's kind of fun looking behind them and seeing what's in their house, right? It's important with you. Make sure it's a positive and good representation when an employer is getting to know you through video. And remember, it goes both ways. You can get an impression of them too. You're learning something about them. You want to make sure you can be quiet in a quiet place. I think every time I picked up the phone, the dogs would start barking, or the kid would start screaming or knocking on, pulling my things. See if you can make sure that you have a separate space for that. These days, most employers kind of understand how that's going. Again, it'll be more important as you're going higher up the salary or professional level. First interview is in person usually. Hopefully results in a second interview. Sometimes there's more. You may be talking with one person or one or two. You may walk in and there's a whole table of 8 people. It's a supervisor, it's an HR person, it's a production person, it's an IT person. They're all kind of trying to figure out, they're trying to save time by doing it all at once. Or you may be talking to this level, a lower level, and then a next level, and then a management level at the top. So, and sometimes you meet, they have all the candidates in the room together as a group. They're asking one question and everybody's supposed to answer the same question. Volunteer to be first if you can do that and have an answer ready. They aren't as common, but it does happen. Next slide then. Know the common questions. This is kind of the heart of interviewing, is that if you know what the common questions are, you can prepare for them. And you have control because you choose what you're going to say. If you have thought ahead about how would I answer this question or that, what does an employer want to hear, but what also do they need to hear about you that tells them how good you are? If they don't ask the right question and you don't find a way to tell them that, hey, I'm an expert at that. Did you miss that? You should have hired me. Be proactive and make sure that they hear the important things about you. Maybe they're not very good at interviewing, but if you are pretty practiced, there's a way to work that in politely and efficiently so that anything they hear about you is about your skills, not about so much about your personal life, not about how old you are, the things that discriminate against you, not about your personal beliefs. That should have nothing to do with the job, with rare exceptions. And so you want to make everything you say about you and about why they should hire you and have examples ready. Don't schmooze it and lie about it. Have to tell the truth, because people will find out if you're really not, if you're just saying a lot of good things and they don't believe you. Examples will kind of prove if you are good at what you're saying. Stick to positives. Don't be grumpy. Don't be crabby. Don't complain about the other guys. Don't complain about the world, even if you have a right to. Hold that for another time. Is that the only thing you want these people to know, is that you're a grumpy person? Maybe not a good thing unless they're looking for that, okay? Be concise. If you're a person like me, I tend to talk too much. I apologize. I got to get through this and wrap this up as I'm looking at my clock too. And so I usually say, give 3 sentences, give 1 example or 3 skills. Don't talk endless and light. You can give kind of 3 basic statements and then stop, and they'll ask another question. And practice. And you have to say it out loud. Everything sounds great in my head until I start talking, and then I'm like, I fumble and stall over things. If you use a timer, you want to kind of limit your answers to a minute or 2 maximum, so you have more things you can talk about. Don't spend 15 minutes talking on one thing. You'll lose time. But also that timer will give you a little anxiety and might help you kind of prepare for when you do get nervous in front of people. And next slide. Okay. All the questions you get in an interview basically boil down to what employers want to know. And there's kind of 3 basic categories. Are you qualified for the job? Should we hire you? And will you be a good fit with our team? You might be really skilled at what you do, but you talk in a whole different way, or you're very efficient, and our team is pretty laid back. So sometimes when you hear, are you a good fit, which is sometimes an escape to say, we would have hired you, but you just weren't a good fit. They may really mean it, or it may be just kind of escape. But oftentimes there's a culture in each organization. And if you weren't going to be a good fit in there, they might have done you a favor too, because maybe you would not have been happy there. So if you think about those things, are you qualified? Should we hire you? And will you be a good fit? That's what they're trying to find out, and asking all different kinds of questions. Next slide then. So some common questions that almost every employer will ask in one sense or one type of wording or another. Tell me about yourself. Most people I talk to hate this question. So did I. Well, what do I say? I don't know what to answer that. Once you know what to say, you will love this question, because this is your chance to really say and get them organized in what they should talk about. I've been here and there, and I kind of like people, so I thought, all right, they're kind of wandering. So if I come in, they say, tell me about yourself. Well, I've worked in the workforce world for about 10 years. I love dealing with people and helping them make successful. I have a bachelor's degree, as well as a real interest in promoting good employment opportunities. Okay. And then now I've told them where to start. Now they're going to ask me questions, and I've identified who I am and how I see myself. I'm a professional. What's my education? What's something I really enjoy, or my experience? Just a little taste so that they can ask questions. they're often going to say, and they may say, tell me about yourself. They may be, well, what brings you here today? Or why are you looking for a job? That's kind of where you can kind of play that into it. As we've done practice and workshops before, someone came back and was very upset because the first question they asked her was not, tell me about yourself. It was like, well, I'm sorry, because it did sound like everybody's going to ask that. They may ask in a different way, or maybe it's something completely different. But if you're able to handle some of these basic questions, you'll get pretty good at adjusting to any kind of question that they will ask you. Another, what experience do you have for the job? How would you answer that? Think about that before you go there. What have I done? Or have I worked with, if it's a computer job, have I worked with computers? What kind of things have I done with computers? Was it in the same industry? Was it agriculture? Was it financial? Was it education? Draw whatever links you can. If you don't have the whole thing, say how it could possibly, that why you think you are a good fit for that position. What is your strength? Are you organized? Are you very interpersonal, good with people? And then have an example that says, oh, I once had someone tell me, oh, you always tell me the best things and you're such a good listener. And that made a difference to them. Keep those stories, but you have to think about them and figure them out. What's your weakness? Don't tell them your deepest, darkest secret. No, this isn't a professional interview. They do not need to know all your personal things, but they need to know, what do you say? How do you respond to that question? Everybody has something they're not good at. Do you beat yourself up if you tell them something really personal, like, oh, I sleep late every day and I'm a horrible procrastinator? Really? Did you just say that out loud? You can really find another example besides that one. Well, sometimes I have trouble meeting deadlines, but here's what I do, because I know that can cause me a problem to not meet my deadlines. However, I keep myself on a timetable. I use a timer and I kind of chart out which things I'm going to do. So if you have a weakness, try to make it something that could also be a positive, because I'm willing to spend more time on things. Okay, that's maybe why I missed my deadline. However, I also work hard to make sure that I don't by doing these things. You can't use it for an excuse and say, that's the way it is. Do something that you can that will help you prove how you overcome that weakness. Why do you want to work here? I used to think that was the dumbest question. And you know what? Usually the first thing I ask people who want to work here, why do you want to work here? It makes sense. We all have a reason. Even if it's an entry-level job that maybe nobody wants, because it's a job you do because you need the income, all right? Well, there's a reason why we go to Target instead of Walmart, or Walmart instead of somewhere else. There's a reason why we have, we go to this food place instead of that food place. Their fries are better. It counts. It matters. It doesn't have to be a big deal. But if you do have a professional, what is it that gets you going? Why do you want to work for my company? Why do you want to work for me? They're curious. Are you going to stick with me, or am I just kind of a job until you figure out something else to do? Find a reason. There's one there. They'll often ask questions about, tell me about a time when you did this. How do you solve problems? What are things you deal with? Again, don't tell them your worst things. Tell them something that was ended up in a good solution. Why should we hire you? Because I'm very good at the computer work that you're doing. I have 10 years experience working with that database, and I've always had success with blah, blah, blah. Find something that tells them exactly. And do you have any questions for us? This was another one that I never knew about until I learned more. They want to know, are you curious about them? They want you to ask questions. No, I'm fine. Never mind. Oh, you don't even care about us. There's nothing you're interested in. So if you have questions for that employer, what's a typical day like here? Who would I be working with? What kind of databases do you use? And this is where you can use your experience and your qualities. I'm familiar with this one, and this one. But how do we, which database are you using? What system? Oh, I like that system. That's been very good. Start that conversation. You can ask them why they think their company is doing the best these days. I saw on your website that you're really successful with this product. Why do you think that is? Get interested, find out what's there. It's also your interview to find out what you want and what if you want to work at that job. Okay? Always be polite. Um, Never, ever, ever ask about how much you're going to pay me, how much vacation do I get? Do I get this day off and that day off? That's secondary. If somebody comes up to you and say, how much do you earn? Well, that's not very polite. It's kind of similar for employers, even though it's the first thing we really want to know many times. Let that wait. You can negotiate that later, once they know if you're working for them and if you want to say yes. So I think one more slide. All right, final thoughts. Oh, I am a talker. I do apologize. Summary. Prepare. Get your tools right. Spend the time right up front. Take those week or two. Don't just start jumping at every job. I know people who have sent out 20 resumes and then they showed it to me and I was like, oh, there's some problems here. So if they sent out a resume to 20 of their favorite jobs and got no responses, it's because the resume was a problem. That's one way you kind of look at it. But if you also send out a not so useful resume to 20 of your favorite jobs or companies you wanted to work for, you've just burned a lot of those contacts too. So do the homework. Get prepared. Don't just jump in. You want the right people to see you at your best. Know what you're good at, why they should hire you. What are you good at? What is your value? Spend the time to think about that. If you need help, call us here at the job center, talk to friends, friends that are pretty good judgments. Sometimes it can be different. I've had some of my friends gave me really good feedback. I was like, really? I didn't think that way. Oh, yeah, you're good at this or that. Not so good at that, though. Don't do that. Okay. Build your experience for the future that you want. We get jobs, and when people have not worked for a while or starting out, your job and having a job is almost as important as the income you're going to earn from it. Don't get narrowed so much just on, I need income now. Sometimes that is okay. If you're in a desperate situation, get income, any kind of income, keep yourself from crisis. But when you're looking toward your career, you don't want to stay in just a job forever, especially if you don't like it. What kind of experience do you need to get the job that you want? And then make a plan. If it's a good job, but it's only 3 days a week, but it's in the area that you want, go for it. Yes, you need a full-time job, but maybe for now it's a part-time and then get a second part-time that helps pay the bills. But now you're building experience in the career that you want with that first 3-day job. Don't say no to that. If you're not working at all, a part-time job is yes, go for it because you need a job now. All right. And if it's a part-time job and a career you want to get into, I call that paid training. If you volunteer somewhere, Habitat for Humanity, because you want to learn more about construction or drywalling or plumbing, that's called free training. And you're doing something good and you put it on your resume and it's great networking. Don't overlook volunteering. It's a great thing to do. Choose something that you're interested in. Short-term work, it's a job, but it's only for 4 weeks. If you're not doing anything else, do it. Add it to your experience. If it's a part-time job for just 4 weeks, but it's in a new area for you, do it. Add it to your resume and learn something. Don't say, I want a full-time job and that's the only thing I'm going to look at. If you can need a part-time job that's partway there, do that and evolve as you go. Give it a year for transition as you change from one job to another. Most employers want to hire people who have been working. If you haven't been working for anywhere for a while, 6 months to a year, work anywhere, get that employment record going because that's going to help you get further up the ladder to your job. So maybe it's that lower level job than you wanted, but it gets you started, especially in a new career. Don't put anything down. Work is work, and if you can prove yourself, they will move you up. And if it's a good company, it's definitely worth doing. So that's kind of all the trade-offs you do. For most people, especially professionals or anybody who's been dislocated or laid off from a job and now has to go somewhere else, and it's been 5-10 years or more, adapt, be flexible. Don't be shy to learn something new and upgrade your skills. Stay current. That is your responsibility. The world is changing. Try to get educated in what's needed from yourself and then go after it. It doesn't have to be a whole lot or bunch, but start trying and improve. If you're low on computers, update yourself. I would never have been able to do this a year ago. Hey, we've learned a little bit, and I probably still have a lot more to learn on doing this. So sometimes the job you get, even if it's lower pay or not what you hope for, is still going to help you get the job that you want. So if you take a job and you're not happy with it, if you have the tools and you know how to job search and you know how to promote yourself, make a plan and build on what you have, or create the experience that you need to build on to get the better job. And again, job searching and that whole journey, it can be really tough. Even when you're skilled at it, or you know that it's going to be tough and takes time, you'll probably hear a lot of no's. It's a numbers game. The more you apply, if you apply it with expertise, and good tools, a good resume, you've done some of your homework with your interview, learn from yourself what you've done wrong. If this interview went bad, learn from it, get better at the next one. And there is a learning curve to that. So surround yourself with support and positivity. Know how to go for a walk. Remember the good things that are in the world. There's more than just job searching, although it won't feel like it if you're really looking for a job. But also find people who keep you positive. Fake it till you make it is not a bad thing to do, because you have to get through the day, and you have to be you have to be polite and courteous and positive when you come talk to an employer. Employers hire people they like, don't we all? We want to be around people that we like and get along with. And you have to, that's part of our journey for each of us, is my philosophy too. So I apologize, I really do talk too much, but I think that's my last slide. Am I right, Kim? Any questions? Again, the job center is here. We are here in River Falls, between Value Stay and Motel, kind of kitty corner from Westwind. Give us a call or connect through the library if you have any questions. That's what we're here for, is resources. Any questions I can answer at this point? And Kim, do you have any suggestions or questions, or are we out of time?
Oh, we have plenty of time for questions.
Okay, good.
I had a couple questions, just in case there were no questions, or even questions I've had when I'm searching for a job, although it's been quite many years. So if you had to give job seekers just one piece of advice, what would it be?
The first thing that people need to know, especially if they haven't looked for a while, if they're a little bit new to it, is know what value you have for that employer. It's pretty daunting, and like I said, especially in our culture, we're not supposed to, and maybe in the Midwest, maybe particularly for women, we're not supposed to brag about ourselves, but it's also not bragging when it's true. It's a different form of communication, being able to talk about what you know how to do for a job. And so remember your audience. What do they need to know about you that you know how to do for them? But so you have to think ahead and prepare. What am I good at, and how do I express that? That's usually the hardest part for people, because that will also reflect what you put in your resume, what you interview for, what you're going to add down to your application about what you know how to do. It frames everything, and how you view yourself is how you will project yourself to others. I often have people come and say, I'm 45 years old, who's going to hire me? Well, for one thing, you just shot yourself in the foot. You must think yourself that you're old. All right. Now, I know people who are 45 and they seem older than me. I know people that are 45 who are younger than me. There really is kind of that idea that age is a number, and sometimes it's in your head. But the first thing you have to do whatever it takes for you to stop thinking I'm old. Or if you're very young, there's some discrimination that way too. If you're going to act like you're immature and young, you probably aren't going to get hired. But if you tell them how you're capable of being professional and can demonstrate that, they don't see you as young or too young or old anymore. They see you as a qualified candidate. And so that's kind of the main thing I advise everybody, is know what you're promoting and know what you're hurting yourself with. If you're thinking you're too old, you're going to project that. You're going to use it in your language. You're going to, kind of ho-hum And so update it. I think I changed careers in my 40s, and one of the first things I did was dye my hair because I have a little bit of, wisdom in my hair here, the gray hair. But by dyeing it, it was kind of fun for one because I'd never done that before. It was kind of a whole nother story. But it allowed me to quit thinking about it. And people say, oh, you look 10 years younger. And if they were lying, fine. I believed it because it was like one less thing to work at. So it's up to us to stay updated. So know what your value is.
Jackie has a question. She would like to know if you should send a thank you card.
Oh, great question. Yes, I love thank you cards. If your communication has mostly been by email, then return an email saying, thank you for your time today with the interview. Kind of remind them where it was. For my interviewing me yesterday for the position of blah, blah, blah. Really enjoyed meeting you and I would love to really show you what I can do more. 3 or 4 sentences, remind them what you talked about or when you met with them. So, because they may have met 20 people. And just, you can always kind of throw something in, that you maybe forgot to mention at the interview, but 3 or 4 questions or statements, sentences, and thank you. It may not always get you the job, but especially in a small business, and sometimes in big corporates and corporations, they're kind of the old standard. They like that. They're kind of curious, oh, this person said thank you. They may be looking for that letter, that thank you note. And if it's a smaller business, I heard of one. It was a chiropractor hiring a receptionist. And she said that out of the 15 people who I interviewed, 5 sent me a thank you note. Which 5 do you think stick out in her mind, especially for a customer service job? It gives you a chance to connect with them one more time. It gives you a chance to sort of touch base, and sometimes it can make that difference. So then the other thing that I sort of feel is when you send a thank you note, you're also sending appreciation instead of bowing before the gods of job appreciation, which is that rejection is hard. So when you thank them, appreciate what you've been given, and express that appreciation, kind of pay it forward. To me, that was always is sort of a personal philosophy. It might help. But yes, that thank you note is one more chance to say, I know how this is done and I appreciate you. Thank you. Because there may be another job down the road that they want. So never burn a bridge.
Those are good answers. We have another question. Is the job center open for people to come in to create and print their resumes?
Yeah, that's been at a time when they really needed us, with so many people filing for unemployment and everything. We had to be closed. We are still closed to the general public. However, if you have a need to use to file an unemployment or need help with a resume, do contact us. If you have to, just knock on our door. We're locked, but we're knocked on the door. We will set an appointment and we will find a way to help you. So we're still available for help. We just can't have a lot of people in the job center. And we did just have a computer of ours set up in the lobby for those who have no other option, if it's something they need. So yeah, if there's something you need, give us a call. We'll make an appointment and see what we can do to help you. Definitely.
Okay. I just want to interject, Pat, that the library also has 2 laptops with printers in our foyer on the Union Street side.
Oh, good.
So Monday through Wednesday, that's available 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Thursday 10 till 7, Friday 10 to 6, and Saturday 10 to 2.
Oh,
so, and just come in and use the computer, print out what you need, and don't worry about paying for copies. We just have that available for the public.
That's fantastic. I did not know that, and that's great.
Yeah, so especially, evenings and weekends, we have some time for people to use a little bit of technology.
Yeah, that's good. We can get it done.
We have another question. Do you have any recommendations on negotiating wages? That's a question from Sandra.
Yeah, that's really tough. But it's not too tough. It takes some practice. So especially as professional, most entry-level jobs are set at one price, and you're starting out. The important thing is to be working and improve your wage as you go if you haven't worked for a while, or starting a new career. Just get started. The second job will be easier than the first one. It sounds counterintuitive, but it is. But that's the truth. For people who have, in professional fields, the wage may depend on what your experience is. So know what range you have in mind. And that can come from your research, talking to other friends who work in that field. Job Center, we can often help with, some job wages for the areas and trends. There's some other different resources too. If you've seen job postings and some have posted a level of wages, that can give you an idea. But otherwise, there's some industry terms on the Job Center can help too. And the library, I think, also probably has some good reference sections on occupational stuff too. Knowing what the general market pays, and there's always, of course, what you want. My last job was $70,000 a year. This one's only going to offer me 50. Well, how long has it been since you worked? Is it a different career or different kind of field? Will it get you started? So balance, what are the other benefits? Is it closer? Is it a nicer place? You have to balance in other things, and sometimes it'd be better working at a little bit lower and move up to a higher job. As you're working, if you find a better opportunity, go to that one. As far as negotiating, usually when you're in that, you've done the interviewing, and they offer you the job, that's usually when they'll start talking about, we're thinking about this wage or that. Sometimes in the interview, they'll say, what wage are you looking for? And that can be tricky because if you answer something too low, they're like, oh, good, she's cheap, we'll hire her. Or if you say something too high, it's like, well, we don't want to pay that much, and maybe they would, but they're budgeting. So if someone were to say, one suggestion I've heard was if they say, what salary are you looking for? Say, well, I'm interested in this range, and kind of have an idea. I would like something around this range. However, I'd really kind of would rather wait to say exactly, because it also depends on what you're offering me for the job, what expectations you have of my skills, what other benefits come with that, and because that can make a difference. And that's the truth. If they're paying more insurance benefits, but the wage is a little lower, maybe that's worthwhile. And it all depends on you, what's valuable to you. So kind of make a list of what's important to you in a job. Is income, the highest salary, the only thing that you're interested in? Most of us also want something that's maybe more fulfilling. Is it something that's closer instead of farther? And how close and how far? It doesn't matter what kind of clothes you wear. Do you have to be in corporate, or would you love being able to wear jeans and bunny slippers on Friday? Well, maybe not bunny slippers, but so that idea of, well, I'm still cautious. I'm looking for a range, but I'm really open to negotiating, because it also depends on your benefits. And if it's been a long time, maybe if they give you a job offer and that's cut and dried, if you're not working, take it, because you don't know if you've applied and interviewed for 3 big jobs and job number 3 is the one you want, but job number 1 who's offering you the job first, say yes. And if job 3 comes back and says, oh, we have an offer now, and then it turns out their offer is better, say thank you very much to job number 1. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I've gotten an offer that's much better, and then move. Either they'll counter and raise you, or they'll let you go. You have to go to where it's better for you, and do an honest job. Don't just sit in the seat and kind of wait for the phone to ring. Do an honest job, because you want to not burn bridges. And if you find a better opportunity, or you're not happy with where you're at, keep looking. This is a job market that's strong. If you have the skills and the job is there, then you need to take care of yourself and go to the better job. Don't be loyal just to be loyal, although that's very nice. Work hard for where you're at, and let them earn that loyalty as well. So I hope that wasn't too much of a mismatch.
No, that was great.
Okay.
I'm going to make one more plug for the library. Actually, maybe 2 more. So while we're closed for people coming into the building other than the foyer, we do have curbside pickup. So if you need a book on creating a resume or a cover letter or doing a job search, we can help you out with that. You don't necessarily even need to know how to use the the more catalog, give us a call, especially in the afternoons and the evenings. I'm here most of the time, Monday through Thursday till 7:30, 6 o'clock on Fridays. I'm happy to help people with their research questions. So you can call the library. And we also have a lot on our website. If you're on the library's website, riverfallspubliclibrary.org, under research, there's education and careers, and we have links to lots of great job resources. And probably, you know, most other libraries and other communities will have things to help people with job searching. So even though we're doing curbside, we're still here to help you out with your phone questions.
Fantastic.
All right, so I don't know, do we have any other last questions? Jackie asks, can you tell me more about the job fair tomorrow?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, the drive-through job fair is tomorrow. This is kind of a idea that started up this past year. Of course, you know, we really miss our job fairs in person with all the employers and the gadgets they offer and the information you can learn and the practice you can get, you know, by talking to different employers and what you can learn. But with COVID, you know, with social distancing, we've had we're not able to do those right now. They'll come back in the future. So we've started, and this kind of came out of a few different ideas in the state, not just this job center, a drive-through job fair where we collect flyers from employers, and the flyers that they send us are what positions they have to offer and a little bit about their company. Then we've organized and collated each of those. I think she has, I'm not sure how many employers she has for this one tomorrow, but we've got, I think she's got 15 or 20 employers, flyers in one bag. They've also brought some, you know, tokens and giveaways and things, you know, little gadgets that you can collect, which was really great. So she's got that all in a plastic bag. Come to the library parking lot tomorrow morning. I think it's between 10 and 12 and 1 and 2. Am I correct, Kim?
Yep, and we're 140 Union Street. We're North Main, right north of Division Street, and actually 1 to 3 tomorrow in the afternoon.
1 to 3, okay.
Yep, and then just you know, take a ride onto Union or come around through the parking lot of St. Bridget's, and it'll be on the parking lot side of the library.
Yeah. You drive in, come on up. We'll give you a bag that has all the resources with some gadgets in it. There's a few employers who are going to come too, because I think they want to see how it works, and maybe they flag you down. I don't know how they're going to do it. But otherwise, come in, you get a bag of different jobs and possible positions, good networking and information, and you go home and look through it. And then you can always contact us here at the Job Center if you want more information, or contact the employer directly. So employers are really excited because they're thirsty to connect to job seekers. So I hope we get a lot of people come out, pick up a packet of information, and spread the joy. Find those jobs out there. There's some really cool positions out there and great employers too. You may not always have seen it because you hear a lot about news. Everybody's out of work. There's an awful lot of people still looking.
All right, well, any last questions? I don't think so. So thank you so much, Pat, for taking your time this afternoon to coordinate with the library. That was a fantastic program. I learned a lot, and we'll keep it up on our pages, and you can have it on your pages. It's just, hopefully it'll be a really good tool for people. And
well, I love that the library had this idea and invited us, because it's a great collaboration, and it really helps us get the word out too, because a lot of people don't know about job centers and that they're great resources. The staff is here even if the job center is closed. So if anybody needs help, you connect with us and we can help you with the next thing somehow. And thanks again to the library. Every community is really dependent on that library. Very important resource. So
well, thank you. And I've sent, you know, numerous people down to the job resource center over the years. It's just a great thing to have just right up the block from the library.
Yeah, it's my favorite job. I love doing it. I love helping people, because once upon a time, people helped me learn how to do this too. It makes a big difference. So there's a way to do it. It's very cool. So
All right.
Thank you again. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
Goodbye and good luck, everybody.